Paris. I'm Business Development Director for Servnet Limited. And I'm here today to talk about the Kendra initiative. You've all read in the program that it's about video on demand. Well, it is. It's a research project on video on demand, and I'll explain what it's all about. But first, a quick plug for Servnet. Servnet is the company that I work for. It's a corporate internet service provider in London, providing IP to businesses. We provide lease lines, server hosting, and webcasting. And some of our clients include Toyota, Ascom, Denton Hall, SohoNet. Okay, just a brief overview about what's going on. Convergence, everything happening over IP. That's what seems to be going on. And why I say seems to be is because if you look about 3 years ago, there wasn't any audio or video over the internet. And now there's loads. So if we look another 3 years ahead, well, it's all going to go that way. So we have that kind of graph. And what I'm really concerned with here is what's going on with video on demand, and where is that going? And not only where is it going, but where do we want it to go? I think there's a lot of people here talking about the problems and the issues and saying, and trying to make guesstimates on where things are going, but really perhaps we should be more talking about where we want things to go and trying to make that happen. Okay. Proprietary video on demand systems. What I'm talking about here is not IP-based delivery systems, but systems that are being set up all around the world, and each system is unique in the sense that they all have their own set-top boxes, they all have their own video streaming technologies, and there's a catalogue available to the users that isn't available to any other user, and I'll explain what I mean. If you'll bear with me, each of the 3 dots are video on demand systems, all serving out their own users. Now, this user here can't see a film on this server here. Now, okay, that's just the way things are being set up at the moment. But what we'd like to investigate is having a generic system that would allow all these systems to talk to each other. Now, well, let's put it all on IP. Well, that's great, because that's where things are going. Everything is going IP. And so what you'll see is a lot of these video on demand systems going onto an IP level and providing high quality. And when I'm talking about these video on demand systems, I'm talking about people that are streaming out films at 2 megabits a second. So it's actually near enough broadcast quality. It's a good experience for the user. Right. The Kendra project. It actually started back in '96 with City University, and it's still going. The aims and objectives really are to produce a system for distribution and delivery mechanism for media, for entertainment media, being it video or be it music. Very, very important here is to provide an open solution. We don't want to provide, we're not building this to sell it, we're building it so that anyone can use it. So we can build a system like this where it is just basically a protocol that people can use. Bring key industry and academic players together to contribute to the goal is very important too. And the aim is to provide a better experience for the end user. And how we do that is to bring bring the content closer to the end user, and where we can actually define the quality of service. Okay, the organisations involved are City University, they're doing the research, Serbanet are the industrial partner, and Hewlett-Packard Laboratories in Bristol are interested. We had to put interested because they didn't officially say that they were on board, but I'm sure they will be soon. Okay, requirements of such a system. It's very ambitious, but if we don't aim high, then we don't get anywhere. So really, we're looking at copyright management systems. These are things that need to be in place for video on demand to really work in the real world in the future. Accounting systems, so we can find out where this material is going, who's buying it, and possibly bill for it. Intelligent caching mechanisms. This is very important for getting the content close to the end user, but it's not just a question of chucking it on the nearest server. You need to have systems to, there's so much content out there, you need to have systems to manage that content. Adaptive content delivery. This was a necessity back in '96 when we started, and has become less of a necessity now with products such as ADSL coming into the market for real. Okay, what's been researched so far? Well, what I'm doing here is really giving an overview of what's happened since '96 and what we've been doing. City University have improved caching performance. They've looked at caching in depth and spent around about 2.5 years really finding out ways of improving the caching technology. City University and HP have carried out research into caching and copyright, the implications internationally, and as I said, also looking at adaptive distribution systems. Okay, the whole thing was funded by EPSERC. That basically funded the researchers, keep calling them students, and that's wrong, for basically about 2 years. As I say, it started in '96. We looked at broad type, user access patterns, and we looked at how metadata could be used to actually catalogue the material, and so define the searches better. And like I said, we looked at a new caching replacement algorithm, which I'll talk a bit more about. Now here it gets very technical, and I'm sure I'm going to say this all wrong, but basically what Kendra researchers found, or they confirmed that user distribution, i.e. the amount of times a file is accessed, looks like this. And I'm not going to say that because I think it's something like zip or zipfan, and anyone that's mathematical can correct me. Okay, that's what the curve looks like. And traditionally, caching systems such as Squid will identify this portion here. But what the Kendra guys did was they went a stage further and identified that portion there. So it just made the caching much better, much more economical. And I've got a graph there to prove that. And as you can see, well, you might be able to see first in, first out is the squares, which is at the bottom. Next is least recently used, which is next up, and then the Kendra cache is at the top. Okay. Also, what was looked at quite recently, in fact, was caching and copyright. And we had a researcher that looked at the new laws that have been implemented that have been brought in about caching from the European Commission, and this student built a benchmark suite to test each type of caching server to see if it actually fulfilled the requirements of the law. And it's just being finished now, so the results have yet to be published. As I say, we looked into adaptive delivery data, and I discovered really how research works, that when you're dealing with a university, it's different from a commercial proposition where you say, please look at this. In fact, they'll look at what they want to look at, and I was always trying to push them more towards looking at the caching, whereas they went quite in depth into adaptive streaming technology, which I think is being catered for by things like G2, SureStream, and we don't really need to go down that road. Okay, the next stage is really to take it much further. We're setting up a live internet trial. We're putting up high bandwidth files. We're in the UK. This is where we're doing this research. Where ADSL and cable modems are coming into the market a lot more. We've got quite a few users, probably I'd say about 3,000 users in the UK at the moment, or maybe just a bit under that, ADSL users. So there's quite a few people in homes with the ability to look at broadband material. And we are putting up films and compelling content, not too much, but just to try and get people to start using it. So it's a bit of education, really. The whole project is a bit of an education to educate the users, to educate the content providers, and also, quite important, in fact most important, is to get feedback from the users about how they want to use this new technology. And we're going to be webcasting on-demand content, so people can choose what they want to look at, or program content like the television. And we'll get feedback and understand how they want to use it. And we'll develop algorithms further. And that's it. Do you have any questions? Yes. Yeah, can you wait for the mic, please? Yeah. Cheers. So can you state your name and where you're from?
Sure. My name is Steve Hawley. I'm from United Broadcasting in the UK.
Yeah.
How are you different from companies like Video Networks who are looking at they're conducting similar trials?
Very good question. Video Networks are basing all their technology on ADSL. They have a proprietary set-top box that their users can then use to get film clips from the Video Network servers. If a Video Networks user wants to see a film that isn't on the Video Network server, or that might be on another, say Kingston upon Hull, that the Video Network, the trials, the video on demand trials that are going on up there, they can't get that film. What we're trying to propose here is a system whereby all films would be available to all users, and the films would be when they, for example, if a Video Networks user wanted to see a Hull film, the servers would talk to each other. The film would travel from Hull to London to Video Networks servers, and then would be played to the Video Networks user. There would be transactions taking place and so forth. But these are the systems we need to evolve to make video on demand a reality. You see, you will never get one corporate giant with enough content for everyone. So there are always going to be different players, and what we need to do is build a system whereby the different players can talk to each other. And the different players can talk to each other at the moment, but the problem is it's cumbersome. They have to have separate agreements. You know, it's rather like peering agreements on the internet. You have to have contracts with each other. But what we need is a more pervasive system, such as DNS or something like that. Okay, it's looking quite far ahead, I admit, but you know. Any other questions? No? Oh, well, great. Because then you can build the system, obviously. Thanks very much.